So now that I have my base and my 4 walls made, now it's going to be time to actually attach these walls to the base. I'm going to be attaching at first 2 walls at once, and then I'm going to be attaching the other 2. Okay, so make sure that you pay attention. What you're going to need for this though is you're going to be needing your wood knife, okay, also known as the sculpting tool. You're also going to be needing your scoring tool, which is this. Okay, you need the scoring tool. Another thing that's going to come in handy is going to be a little bit of water and your sponge, okay, because we're going to be wanting to make some really good welds. So I'm going to put my sponge and my water right there. Okay, now when doing this, you have to make sure that you create the proper materials to weld. And now what I mean by that is, it isn't just that I have my base and then I have my sides. No, it's more than that, okay? What I need is I need something that's going to be able to hold this part and this part together, and that's going to be clay. So if you listened to my last video or the last section, is I hung on to all the pieces of clay that I cut off when making my walls. All right, because those are going to come in handy. Because what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to be making some coils. Now these coils are going to be they're going to serve as my joint for the 2 walls. All right, whenever I put 2 walls together, I'm going to use a coil to reinforce that weld, to reinforce that joint where the 2 walls come together. Now, these do not have to be thick. It's best if they're thin, okay, thinner than my pinky. You'll see that. It's actually about the thickness of the tool, right? Okay, so that's important. So I'm making a couple coils before I actually start to weld. All right, so I'm going to Okay, now that I have a couple coils over here already made, all right, now I'm going to actually, so I got them off to the side over here. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my base, all right, and I'm going to be adjoining this wall with, so it's going to go on my base and I'm going to join it right here. Notice this section right here. Notice how there's an overlap. That's going to be super important. Notice how there's a little space right there. That's where the other wall is going to go, okay? That's important. So now the first thing I'm going to do with this is wherever these 2 walls are going to touch, so this wall and this wall, it goes on top. Wherever they're going to touch, I'm going to do what's called scoring. So I'm going to take my scoring tool and I'm going to mar up the surface. Okay, I'm not pushing down really hard. Okay, also the bottom is going to be touching that area, so it's going to come in like this. Okay. So see, those 2 are going to be, see how that touches there? That's why it's scored together. This one is going to go over here, so I'm going to score right along this edge here in the bottom of my wall. Now, I'm not done yet, because this is going to go here, and this is going to go here. Notice how these 2 walls are touching right there, right? So I have to score the inside here and the outside here. So I'm going to start with the outside. Again, this is called scoring. All right. So I'm going to set that down there so I know where it is. I'm going to score here. Now, the way to think about a score is this. If I take 2 walls, right? If I take 2 walls and I put them together like this, and I ask somebody to pull apart my hands, right? Pull apart my hands, they'll probably be able to do it. But now, I'll be able to do it. But now if I take my fingers and I interlock them and hold them like this, it's going to be really super hard for somebody to separate my hands, right? Exactly. That's what the score is. So we're taking the clay, we're making these marks, and then we're pushing them together, and it's going to be holding, making a tighter bond, making a tighter weld. To make that weld even tighter, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a little bit of water, just a little bit of water, and I put it in there. Now, this is the slip portion. Now, what I mean by that is, what it does is by adding water to the clay, it makes it, it creates slip, which is watered down clay. Okay, and what that's going to do is by melting the clay with water, if you will, it's going to create a stronger bond because now the water is getting into those little gaps and it's going to create a tighter bond. All right, okay, so now you can see I stood up my walls here. What I should do is add a little bit of water right here, just a little bit, just a little dab will do ya. Okay, then I stand it up. You see that the two walls are starting to hold each other up. Okay, I'm going to switch my point of view so that way you could see what I'm going to be doing on the inside.